Hello. I tried making this video in my car yesterday and just several attempts, and I had to delete them all because I was just rambling and there's quite a lot of information I wanted to sort of get out there without trying to garble too much. But anyone that knows me knows that I do waffle a bit. But this is about the war, but it's going to go much, much deeper than that. And I'm not like a geopolitical guy. I'm not very academic. I'm not well read. I'm not that guy. But more like just my sort of crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theories about the inevitability of this conflict. Those that know about the New American Century, I suggest that the project for New American Century, I suggest you look into that. Iran's on the list, as well as all the other nations and regimes in that part of the world that all of a sudden had to be dealt with, and they've all been dealt with, haven't they, up until Iran. So now Iran's been dealt with. So obviously, many people, and especially now on my channel, because I've become a little bit more ethno-realistic, are going to blame the ones that wear the little hat and, don't eat prawns, them lot. And yes, they are definitely involved. Absolutely. Don't like that lot at all. Certainly the ones in charge, if you know what I mean. But I think it goes deeper. So here we go down the rabbit hole. If we go back to the Battle of Waterloo, I know. Rothschild's, the one that was based in England, he knew the result of that war before anyone else because he had the fastest pigeon, he had the fastest messenger rider, like literally that's how people got their news back then, And the trick he played was he started immediately selling, I believe, stocks on the stock exchange back then in London, and his competitors, if you like, fellow traders, all thought, oh God, Rothschild knows, and Napoleon's won. Wellington's been defeated, Napoleon's won. Right, we better sell as well. But then Rothschild stopped and then started buying because he knew the truth and he tricked everyone. And historians, financiers will know more about this than I do, but, just the basics. But he kind of owned the Bank of England from that point on. His wealth was just so overwhelming. And his quote was, and it's a famous quote, it doesn't matter who sits on the crown. Who controls the money is in charge. So I would say, and it probably people will be able to pick dates and time going back to the Egyptian period, but I would say that is a very key pivotal moment where I think this is a cult. Below this, these families, these elite, ancient families that really have been in control, and they currently still control. The deep state is theirs. The media is theirs. The banking system is theirs. And I don't think religion, the ones that we think of, the Abrahamic religions, really come into it. I think deep down they're all occultists, and I think the devil worshippers. And I'll even include the royal family of Saudi Arabia, because is it Sabatines or Sabadians, something like that? People are going to know. I know they are, because I know there's some bigger tinfoil hat wearers than me that might watch this. I think they were Jewish, and they were given a very nice, an offer they couldn't refuse from the very nice peaceful lot. The Islam lot was, submit to us or die or convert to Islam. And I think they managed to negotiate a kind of a trade deal with it, and they appear to be Islamic, but I think they're actually Sabatines, and I think they probably are to this day. And I think you could say that of all of like the deepest, the ultra Zionists and the ones that don't appear to be Jewish or Christian, they all seem to hold hands under the table, don't they? And I think that's what this is. I think this is an occult, and they're working for the devil, and the devil wants this war. Hang on, I'm going to refer to my notes here, make sure I haven't missed anything out, because I have made notes. Yeah, even so, you include that what were now called the Windsors, but were called, the Saxe-Coburg Gothas. Alistair Crowley, this lot. bear with me, right? That's what I think's going on here, and I think this is still the group of people and their descendants that have this occult-like obsession just to destroy. And the Sabbatines were, I think, they were set up on the concept of the opposite of good. You know, if others were fasting, they were feasting and stuff like that. And they're really into sacrifice and that sort of thing. So I'm going to then, the other key part of this video originally was just going to be how we need to become a bit of an isolationist. And I don't mean necessarily in the way that, the Japanese were completely isolationist, deliberately nothing at all from any other country or culture for centuries perhaps. But what I mean is we need to, however we manage to get control back, if it's possible, would be to root out all the deep state completely. Disassociate ourselves from all of the global entities, you know, the UN, the IMF, the Europe, the WHO, NATO, all of it. Just get out of it. And my God, are we going to come under an awful lot of abuse and attack and media manipulation and potential war for that. But what we do have is nukes. And we do have just about enough military to defend our land. But we need to work on that. There needs to be 3 things we do. 4 things we do immediately. First of all, we've got to get rid of all the people that are no good here. We don't want them. We've talked about that before. We know who they are. Get rid and have a leader in place that has the balls to do it. Rupert might be that guy. He might not realise, like, if he heard this, he might go, that guy's a fucking lunatic. I don't want him having anything to do with Restore. And I appreciate that. And if I'm asked to leave, I'd leave. But you would need to root and branch, just dig everything out, all that cancerous that's in every single one of our institutions. And then we need to focus on farming and energy. We need to be energy independent and we need to be food independent. So the opposite of what we've been doing with farmers, and so farmers, this will be music to their ears, we need to reward them massively for producing as much food that we can have as possible so that we don't have to rely on food being shipped in, because obviously having an island is very useful for defence, but it's also a real problem when you're relying on trade coming in via ships or air. And the energy independence, we've got coal under the ground, we've got gas in the North Sea, and we can start building up our nuclear. So energy and food independent. And at that point, then, obviously, that's when you, at the same time, you're making sure we're building up our military. We need to make sure soldiers are rewarded handsomely and revert back to the rewarding them by immediately, once they've had their 22 years, whatever it is, give them their pension straight away, look after them, and let them know that that's protected. We need to end all communications through the 5 I's. So the independence network, the intelligence, network, that has to go. Like, we literally, that's what I'm on about being isolationist. It's like, get off our fucking land and leave us alone. You want to trade with us? We'll trade with you. But that's it. And then in several decades' time, if we think enough has changed out there, and if there is still a world that exists, then perhaps we can open up a little bit. But I think that's what we need to do. I want to be little Englanders, if you like. I want to just protect ourselves and have nothing to do with that lot. And I know that sounds mental, all of that. And to be honest with you, it sounds almost unachievable. So the final part of that really is even to get in a position to have that to be able to have that independence, to be able to be that strong, is you need a leader. We need leaders that have the strength to do it. Now, Rupert is a very, very good start, but I don't think even with Rupert we get anywhere near what we want without some form of conflict. I think it's coming. I'm not the tough guy that's going to be there. Obviously, I have made my peace, and if I perish, then I perish. That's okay. That's for my children, and now I have a grandchild. That's their future, and I'm prepared to lay my life down for it. It's easy to say sitting here. My arse might quiver a little bit when it really comes to it, to be honest with you. But I can't see another way. I think a conflict has to happen, and we have to win. We have no choice. Otherwise, we will live as a subjugated class in our own country. And many people will say, we already are, Winston. So what's new? And so it's just waiting to find out how and when we reach that point. So I still do believe that enough people out there are not aware of the reality of Reform and Nigel Farage, and there's a very good chance that Farage and Reform win the next election. And it won't be long after that all the people that have been fooled into voting for him go, he had no intention all along of doing any of the things that he said he was going to do. We've been conned again, and they will lose complete faith in the system. And I think that's the point when it turns hot, it gets kinetic. And then I suppose you have to hope that there are enough good men in our military and retired military that are prepared to make that stand. And that is then a civil war, right? You know, when the military divides and you've got this military against that military, and we just have to hope there's enough of them that feel the way I feel. Otherwise, yeah, it's done. We're toast. The globalists won. Anyway, that makes sense, any of that? Be interested to see the comments. Anyway, see you soon. Bye-bye.